Live action for Season 9, the final round of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Series from the illustrious Silverstone circuit. Now, it's not the first time we visit this circuit for the series. We did head here for Season 8, but it's the first time in 2019 we get a good sneak peek at this wonderful aerial shot provided by Scott Newton, our producer here behind the scenes. Welcome to the action on Apex Racing TV. Daniel Lead alongside myself on hand, Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth around a very cold and windy Silverstone circuit, as you can see on screen, using the Grand Prix layout with the new start-finish straight around that arena section. It's a 5.8 kilometer circuit, plenty of turns on offer as this circuit has evolved throughout the years. We used to turn left into turn one for many years here at Silverstone up until 2010. Ironically, the start-finish line actually moved to the new location in 2011. But today, all eyes are on our GTE drivers on this Sunday evening in Australia to produce some brilliant action. Daniel Leet, it's a circuit that I quite enjoy in the world of motorsport, and iRacing, as we see here, have done an absolutely splendid job with producing such a... I mean, it's like Picasso drew up this circuit.
Yeah, good evening, Johnny, and to all the viewers. Yeah, look, it's a absolutely cracking circuit. I think iRacing done a fantastic job in the transition from the old classic layout that was so fond of to the updated current spec GP layout. Circuit, as always, puts on a fantastic show. We saw that a lot last season. Different format last season to tonight, but coming in for the final race of the season, it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, most certainly, and championships can be wrapped up too. We're about to approach our 45-minute event, so there's plenty of stuff we'll preview in the next couple of minutes. But first off is that championship we just spoke about. The standings will be up on screen right now. Now, this is your elite class, everybody who begins with the number 9 in the triple digits. These are your highest I-rated drivers. Stephen Lattimore today can easily wrap up the championship ahead of Craig Edwards if things go the Race on Oz drivers' way.
Yeah, there's going to be an absolutely fantastic battle for the final one tonight. Both drivers in the server and going to be absolutely fighting out. There's nothing between either of these two, and going to be really, really interesting to see how that's unfolds.
Yeah, we'll cycle through the rest of the championship. So heading next are our Pro GTE drivers. Dave Clements with a comfortable championship lead ahead of Brett Hander. Cody Bird will round out the top 3 there. Then we switch over to our amateurs. And it's Lee Vandenberg, basically with a brilliant lead over Riot Sim Racing's Jeremy Clark. And then the final standings, Daniel, for the day, which Martin Crisp leads comfortably. I don't think this championship's going to change. Let me tell you that much.
No, I think Martin's well and truly got this one in the books, and likewise for the previous championship we saw Lee Vandenberg going to again lock away that one as well. So it's good to see a couple of them pretty well secured here tonight. The other two, especially the pros, going to be really, really interesting though. But all in all, racing from all these categories been fantastic throughout the season.
Yeah, Jason Dullahan also with a comfortable advantage there in the second position. Now it's a 45-minute event here to wrap up the season. Talk us through the rules, Daniel, for a 45-minute event, because they do differ between our 90-minute Enduro and our 2x20 sprint event.
Yeah, so as you say, 45 minutes tonight. All drivers will come down the lane for one compulsory pit stop. Tyres are not required, but fuel definitely mandatory tonight, as opposed to what we traditionally see with the 90-minute, where it's two forced or two recommended pit stops, one for tyres and one including fuel. So going to be interesting to see how the guys take to the strategy as we see the grid coming up here, and it's going to be really, really interesting for the remaining 45 minutes of this season.
Yeah, most certainly. Here's the grid up on screen. Now, very good to see Shane Van Gisbergen back racing again in this series. He'll start from second alongside Danny Davison. Leslie Vandenberg, very impressive qualifying performance from Lee Vandenberg. Adam Gardner's always fared well at Silverstone. He'll round out the top 10. Be nice to see what Darren Lobb can do from the 5th position. There's Jason Dullahan, who is second behind Martin Crisp, his Pulse Racing Team teammate. That was a tongue twister. And they'll start 13th and 15th respectively. Rest of the order includes Benjamin Faulkner, Ryan Kolstad down the back of the order. Is Ryan Kolstad racing Daniel, or is that shuffled up? I'm a bit confused now. I don't think he's racing. He's got a different car number as well.
Yeah, no, Ryan will be looking after the proceedings tonight. So you can hear him on the radio there. But yeah, he'll be proceeding over this one as always.
Yeah, most certainly. So that just confused me a little bit. 31 cars, I should say, at the end of the day. The rest of those behind, including Matt Farah with his Illuminati 666, will not begin this race from the back end of the order. But it's a rolling start, and we are ready to go for 45 minutes of action around Silverstone. And already, side by side, into Abbey.
Yeah, big run from Van Gisbergen up on the inside, jumping from second position. Danny Davison maybe not getting the best start. He's actually going to come under a bit of attack. It looks like we had one of the Mark 1 esports cars going, actually a couple further in the background, one of the Fusion and the Race on Oz cars getting together as well.
Yep, this is Danny Davison on screen for the second position, alongside Michael Kirkham. Right behind the Porsche here, the two drivers. But what a lead for Van Gisbergen so far. Here's Danny Davison now. Oh, he's had a horror start, hasn't he? He already dropped 2 positions heading into Brooklands. They'll have to form up heading into Luffield, but the racing isn't over on the run down to Cops.
No, really working very hard to try and get back. Kirkham making that Porsche pretty wide for the Mark 1 esports team. Danny Davison not really letting go, but keep an eye on Darren Lobb. We saw him a couple of races ago at Montreal having a very good run there in that 90-minute event, and he was one of the only drivers who could really match up with Van Gisbergen, so look for him to come through the field.
Yeah, Martin Crisp now on screen. Crisp in the 11th position. Oh, he's alongside a multitude of drivers here. It's hard to see who's who as they head through the Maggots and Beckett section of Silverstone. I've seen plenty of battles here throughout the years. How about this from Craig Edwards behind in the Ford? Not able to pull off a move on Crisp on the run down this hangar straight. Now, problem is now in these opening laps, it's not a good time to make that early pit stop, Daniel, because you want to use up all the tyres that you can, and you're going to feed that into a lot of traffic if you're the leaders.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to have enough fuel in the car either to get those runs done, as we see Edwards and Lattimore. Those guys had that early contact in turn 2, so they're getting back underway and a long way down the order right now, 12th and 13th respectively. But just up ahead, Crisp's going to have to make that BMW very, very wide on the run to finish the lap.
Yeah, he certainly is. Here's Crisp on the run into Abbey. Now, you can't make that pit stop until the beginning of your own local third lap. So not the third lap of the race, but your own third lap. So keep in mind, any of these drivers that enter the box early will have to enter again to be qualified to win this race, as we still watch Crisp here on this entertaining first lap. Love to see how Van Gisbergen is going in the lead, because that gap seems to be dwindling down to about 0.4 of a second. There's the Supercars driver on screen. Supercars champion, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, former Supercars champion for Red Bull Holden Racing there, and good to see Michael Kirkham, sorry, being able to latch onto the back of that Ford and not really letting him get too far away. Danny Davison seems to have recovered after his slightly off start, but a little bit further back we've got Dominic Ferreira starting to challenge up on the back of Darren Loeb as well for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, good stuff here down the back end of the order. Sees Lob just in shot in the last moments as they head through Maggots and Becketts. What a thrilling section this is. I tell you what, Kirkham's keeping him honest as we switch back over to Darren Lobb in that 999 car. He's under attack from Ferraris in the Ferrari. It's a joke we made all year, but he's made that Ferrari work, hasn't he? And alongside Lobb here on the run down to Stowe.
Yeah, Darren got a little bit awkward there through the Maggots Becketts complex there, had to lift, and that did allow Ferraris to get through. But looked like also Kirkham was starting to get very, very racy on the back of Van Gisbergen. You see him just in the front of shot there. And the Porsche actually looking pretty good on its feet at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what car would be the best around here? I'd assume I'm surprised not more. Is it surprising people aren't running the BMW more? I thought the BMW would fare well here.
Well, based on what we saw from the BMW last season, it was a very competitive car in the hand of Lee Vandenberg around this circuit, and Adam Gardner as well. They had a fantastic race, but doesn't look to really be swinging that way at the moment. The Porsche and Ferrari probably very, very close on pace, and surprising. We've seen the Ford up there throughout the season, and it's continuing to prove just how good a car.
Yeah, exactly it. Here we still watch Kirkham in the second position. Plenty of scraps down the order as well. How about Mr. Chris Pellet? Here we switch to him all over the rear end of Paul Wood. And he's going to dive up the inside heading into Brooklands. This Chris Pellet. Wood's able to stick it around the outside. Oh, this is close here. And there we go, Daniel. Brilliant move.
Oh, yeah, good move there. He almost brought Tim Phoeben along for the ride as well, down into that corner as well. So could have been pretty hard there for Chris Pellet, Paul Wood, if he did lose a couple of spots there. But those Mark 1 cars a little further back in the hands of Tim Phoeben and Pat Gallo starting to work their way back up the field.
And look at that on screen. The 999 car of Darren Lobb with a 20-second stop and hold penalty. So the race stewards here, sponsored by Harvey Bay Auto Glass, they reviewed the footage. They feel like Darren Lobb was at fault for that incident. Now, what incident was that again, Daniel? Did we see that? It was the...
No, I don't think we actually we caught a glimpse of that. We'll have to see whether we're possibly able to get back to a replay on that. But it'd be interesting to know who we actually did have contact with as a result of it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. The 326 car as well of Aaron Specchio is all the way down in 22nd, also with a 20-second stop and hold penalty. So Ryan Kolstad and the team behind in race control, sponsored by Harvey Bay Auto Glass, doing all their work to create this series and make it what it is. Very well-run series is the AMF GT series. Now, a couple of early pit stops. Lee Vandenberg, Scott Gamble.
Yeah, probably not a bad time to be coming in. Gets them out of this huge train of cars that's working a way around the field at the moment. So could potentially see some lap increase as a result of that. But I wonder how tight they will be on fuel at the back end of this.
And Paul Wood versus Timothy Phoebens starting to heat up right now through the loop. There is Mr. Timothy Phoeben losing the position to Mr. Wood. Pat Gallo also ready to pounce behind. How about the BMW here with Phoeben ready to pass Paul Wood heading into Brooklands. And I love Brooklands here, Daniel, as he pulls off the move just because of the trail-breaking nature of the corner. And Phoeben, I thought, was going to have a look at Dullahan ahead as well.
Yeah, it's almost got a run in there. It's a great little corner to come in. It's certainly changed its nature with the update of the circuit to what it used to be, but still one of those corners that provides a huge amount of opportunity and reward if you can get the car along.
And how about that on screen for Craig Edwards in the 928 car? A shortened penalty for readdressing an incident on the first lap. Now, does that still encourage the readdress, Daniel, to do that? I think he saved 15 seconds off his penalty.
It's probably not a bad idea if you are in the wrong, and it's hard to say. We didn't quite get a chance to catch that one. It was something we caught in the back frame that both himself and I think it was Steve Lattimore getting tangled up there. So to drop back and allow the opposition to come back through and work your way back again, certainly more favourable in the eyes of the race stewards. And here we are, Edwards dropping in the lane for his stop, and look for him to have a slightly higher time with that extra 5 seconds.
Here's a replay on screen. So what's this? This is Stephen Lattimore we're watching on screen. This will be... Oh, is this the opening lap? Oh, no, Lattimore. And that was Edwards, I think. So that was the incident with Edwards. Hard to see who the Ford was, but it looked like Craig Edwards there, Daniel, who just got in a little bit too hot. You always see those kinds of incidents in the loop at Silverstone.
Yeah, and it's a very easy thing to do. I think both cars avoiding the spinning Mark 1 Ferrari there, and unfortunately Edwards not quite able to get that car slowed up just enough to get it on the entrance, and Lattimore likewise probably just not aware of that car up the end.
Yeah, certainly not. This is Lattimore now on screen yet again. Look at that pit time for Edwards. So how does that work there, Daniel? He's had a 5-second stop hold. He's also had a 15-second stop. So I'm a bit confused. Or am I getting our drivers mixed up? No, Craig Edwards did have the 5-second stop go. So how's that work now?
Yeah, well, he would have come in, done the stop, and just they hold for an additional 5, allow the time to click down, and would be back underway after that one. So we should see, for most of these drivers, anyone pitting now or later on the race, most of those pit stop times, short of taking tyres, will be a little bit lower. Stationary time for Edwards last time by was a 14.7, so we'll keep an eye on that later on in the race.
Yeah, so I got a bit confused there. I wasn't expecting such quick pit stop times, which is why I was a bit... worry for Craig Edwards, but excuse me, he's done everything correct there, of course. So Craig Edwards now on an attack after his 5-second stop and hold. Darren Loeb in the pit lane. He's going to have to serve a 20-second penalty too.
Yeah, so I think he'll be getting that one out of the way. And looks like Martin Crisp also in the lane for his stop as well. So if you guys considering that early option, we know tyres around in these cars will certainly be very good and they'll hang on right through to the end, which will make for some very interesting racing. I'm really surprised this front four, though, have really, they're starting to stretch a good little gap over Justin Wallace here, but Van Gisbergen not really able to get away from anyone, and looks like Danny Davison likewise starting to come back in that Porsche.
You're right there. Van Gisbergen, do you think he's managing the pace? I don't think so. I think that, you know, all four of these guys were very close in qualifying as well, weren't they?
Well, yeah, the qualifying times between all drivers, I don't think there was a lot in it at all. And for someone like Van Gisbergen, probably maybe finding it hard. We know he's a great driver out in the V8 land, but coming into a fixed setup, potentially a little bit of trouble getting the head around. But all in all, the car pace and control as good as ever from what we'd expect to see. And the guys behind probably really be relishing the fact to be they're able to hang with the top drivers at the moment.
We watch the leader scrap here through the first few corners. This is Richard Hunter now on the attack on Stephen Lattimore. Lattimore, as we said, looking for a championship here today over Craig Edwards. Edwards on the back foot after that. And Lattimore could be crowned Season 9 champion if things go his way here at the final round. Very bumpy through Chapel. And this is the hangar straight, where they used to once keep the airplanes here in World War II. Have a look at Danny Davison as well on the timing screen. I've been keeping an eye on that in the third position. And that gap's creeping down, Daniel. Look at that. 10th of a second now.
Well, yeah, Davison really getting on the back here at Kirkham. I think he's going to try and have a run through. I don't think he'll get it done up here, but on the run into 3, probably his best opportunity with the hard, tight switchback of the circuit here. Sets up pretty good line, not quite close enough. So he's starting to get a good idea of where this Porsche is strong. See him go almost around the outside. That's a huge move.
Brilliant move there from Danny Davison if he can pull it off here. They're losing more and more time to Van Gisbergen, but this could benefit Danny Davison in the long term. But look out for Dominic Ferraris behind here in the 4th position. Doesn't know where to go because the two are still squabbling up ahead of him. Brilliant move from Davison. Ferraris not able to pounce here. He's going to go for the outside, is Dominic Ferraris, but there's just a longer line through there, longer radius. It was just never going to work. But how about the run heading to Copse?
Yeah, great run for both those. I think Kirkham may have just got a little bit of a wide push there on the car on the run, but Ferraris, as you see him down up the inside, what used to be traditionally turn 1, not quite able to get a move done. The Ferrari, sorry, just pushing a little bit mid-corner, so that could be a bit of a challenge later on as well.
That wasn't off track at Copse. I think he just got one there. Takes the touring car line here. You always take a different line in open wheelers through this section than you do in comparison to these tin tops. Poor run out of Chapel for Michael Kirkham, and he's received that deadly slowdown we've seen at Silverstone. It's probably the worst slowdown I see in iRacing.
Yeah, one of the worst, if not. I think probably the hardest one is that one through Le Mans that you get just before you get onto the Mulsanne Straight. That's another tough one.
Man, yeah. Running
that car a little wide through there, but as a result of that slowdown, though, Kirkham drops now behind Justin Wallace for Race on Oz. So, space of a couple of 100 meters, he's dropped 2 positions.
Wow. Yeah, I hate that slowdown. You know what I figured out as well, Daniel, is that if you straight line the entire Maggots-Beckett section, as we watch Benjamin Faulkner here alongside what looks like Chad Hearn, the Mach 1 Esports driver, they're still squabbling. They're going to have to form up here heading to turn 1. But if you straight line the entire section, you pick up like a 6-7 second slowdown, then you can enter the pits and get away with it. It's a true story.
Wow, that's something we might have to look at coming into week 13 for a bit interesting, but no doubt for anyone potentially thinking or attempting that tonight, I'm sure
you get banned.
We will see the race stewards well on top of that one. Now you mentioned it, but yeah, Ben Faulkner having a fantastic run, not allowing Chad Hearn to really get away from him, but he's bringing Bradley Sanders along for the ride as well in the Porsche there, the 111 Esports Porsche.
Certainly is. Don't attempt that, ladies and gentlemen. You will receive bans, especially when you have race control. Sponsored by Harvey Bay Auto Glass involved in the series. So you can't get away with it with humans. And you will get reported. But I'll tell you what, it's pretty funny nevertheless. Don't ask how I figured it out. I was just trying stuff. So this is now Fork that we see on screen in the Ford. Ford, not the most popular car anymore, Daniel. Is there a reason in the GTEs? I don't know. It seems like when a driver who picks up the Ford just knows how to make it work. It's not the car for everybody.
No, I think the Ford really has a unique driving style. The little bit of time that I've spent in and around it, I actually struggled a lot with trying to get used to the sound that the car made and working out where it was in the rev range comparative to what you see with the Porsche or the Ferraris. We see it's Kirkham diving in for the lane as well. It's a tricky one to get your head around because you want to rev it so much more and you know that you can't. And yeah, it certainly takes a lot to get around. But for the guys that can master it and get on top of it, certainly a very, very quick hands. Likewise, we're seeing that tonight with Van Gisbergen jumping up a couple of spots to currently lead the race.
And now here's a replay for Kirkham. What's happened here? I thought I saw some white smoke. So as he locked up heading into pit entry. Wow. There's a replay for you, Daniel. Did I miss something?
No, I don't think we did. I think he got
the
in there pretty well, so that was all good. But right here, Ferraris and Davison really going for it on the run here. Ferraris very, very wide in that Ferrari, and Davison not quite able to get the run there.
Certainly is. Davison, I'm pretty sure ran the BMW. Has he switched this season?
I have a feeling he may have, and I'm sure that's something been run through the race officials. But if he has come from the BMW, the Porsche certainly not slowing him down at all. As you see him trying to edge up on the back of Ferraris there. Through turn number 9, not the place to get it, but he's going to get a nice run down into through the Maggots exit section.
Yeah, Danny Davison has to form up though for now. And that's any scrap with Ferraris for the moment as he makes his way past into the second position. Does Ferraris will cost some time to Van Gisbergen up the road there. You can see Justin Schott all on his own with clear air. Let's ride on board with Davison. Let's enjoy this through the end of the lap. Do you blip the throttle much in this car, Daniel, under braking?
I know you don't need to, but it's, I guess, something I've always done. It doesn't really make much of a difference, and I guess it really depends on your driving style, but I think you can make up a little bit of time, but it does tend to hurt the trail brake a little bit if you...
Yeah, it certainly can. Keep that car stable under braking. I don't mind it. I love a bit of heel and toe as Pat Gallo and Daryl Carter in the pit lane. I love a bit of heel and toe, a little bit of blip of the throttle, under braking. Right, for braking, I don't mind it. It's fun, but I just seem to enjoy just the simple two pedals, F1 style of driving, and just try and go your fastest, I guess it depends how I wake up that day, if I'm up for a challenge or if I'm up for a speedy challenge.
Well, yeah, there's a lot to be said for the go-kart method of driving these cars around. I think it's certainly favours some drivers with placing the car and getting the most out of it through the corner. But that being said, if you look at some of the other series that we watch, the V8s and even some of the guys running the Porsche series, they still do run the heel toe and balance that car just as well with all three pedals. So it really comes down to that driver preference. I've never been one to get heel and toe quite right, but a bit of left foot braking never goes astray.
I think with heel and toe, it's just about practice and coordination, isn't it? Just getting that muscle memory and the habit of heeling and towing. if that's the correct verb. Here's Darren Lobb under attack here, it looks like, from Daryl Carter in the forward behind. Lee Vandenberg also on the rear end of this train. The lead car to make a pit stop is Michael Kirkham. And now Shane Van Gisbergen enters the pit lane, our leader. So let's have a look at SVG. And let's have a look if anyone else behind him joins. Mr. Gardner does for the Mach 1 Esports team. Danny Davison will inherit the lead here and lead a lap 20 minutes into the event. But those two, like we said, will service their cars. We'll keep a track of their pit times, which will be ever critical.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be interesting to see where both those two drivers fall out. And now with Davison being released, what can he do in the Porsche at the moment? He's still got himself a nice gap over both Matt Morris and Justin Wallace, the guys in second and third place. But be interesting now to see, without having that car in front, what he's actually able to get.
Have we missed what's happened to Dominic Ferraris? He's fallen down the order, and Dominic Ferraris, I don't believe, was in your top 5. So I just want to find out, maybe Scott Newton behind the scenes, I might be seeing things, but maybe he'll be able to figure out what's happened to Dominic Ferraris here, because he's out of the race, is he? I think he's not even in the pit lane. I don't know. It says he's in the pit lane at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, looking at the last lap time of 2:24, so that was a huge long lap for him. So not sure whether there was some contact or maybe a bit of an off track and a spin potentially.
Oh, here it is. Oh, no, here it is. Sorry to cut you off there. It was just Ferraris into the barriers. So when we get this up, Daniel, we'll get it up in a second here. But what section does that look like? That looks like the exit of... Is that the exit of Beckett's, right, into Chapel?
Yeah, I think that's exactly where it is. Maybe just caught the grass there and it spun him wide, and that looks pretty terminal. I don't believe the guys get a fast repair, but if they do, we'll keep an eye to see whether he's able to get that car back out on. Currently that pit stop time sitting at 60 seconds, so pretty long stop for him there.
That's pure driver error when you watch the replay. Pure driver error from Ferraris. I'm not sure if he was trying to avoid the off-track abruptly. I feel like that off-track is too dangerous. How much it costs you. Like, the fact that Ferraris has had to swerve and like take himself out of the race just to avoid a 3-second slowdown, to me is ridiculous. But Lattimore is into the pits, and this is critical for the championship.
Yeah, likewise. He also brought Tim Phoeben in as well. So both those drivers dropping in out of 7th and 8th, and good to see them coming in. We'll keep an eye to see Craig Edwards up on screen as well. We saw these two key title contenders, and going to be very, very interesting to see whereabouts Craig Edwards pulls out. Obviously, he has had that 5-second additional time penalty, and he will be gunning to try and get back ahead of Steve Lattimore.
Certainly will. We watch Lattimore on screen. And here's Edwards, his championship challenger. Remember, Edwards had that extra 5-second penalty. I believe Lattimore is ahead for the moment by at least a few seconds here heading into the loop. So there are the live gaps on screen as it creeps down. There was Lattimore just in shot in the foreground. And Edwards that we're focused on. Well, now we're focused on Lattimore. There's the gap. You can see it's not that far between the two. And SVG up ahead is in the 10th position, just ahead of Kirkham. If you think about it, Michael Kirkham's essentially in second now.
Yeah, Kirkham doing a great job in that car, although we saw him running up in second for quite a while at the start of this race, getting that great jump over Danny Davison. And I think he'll be a strong one to hold that second position down right at the end of this race. Obviously 22 minutes on the way, and we've still got another 23 to go, so yes, I can do the math, which is nice to know. But yeah, going to be very, very interesting to see where it is. Jeremy Clark on a battle with Chris Pallett as well. These guys are scrapping over 5th and 6th at the moment. Still yet, though, to come down the lane for their respective stops also.
What a brilliant shot this is. Heading into this final corner here. Well, the final section of corners at Silverstone, at least. It's Jeremy Clark and the Porsche trying to defend here from Chris Pallett. Now, with the multitude of Porsches I see, where are which cars going to benefit at this circuit, Daniel? Because the way I see Silverstone are minimal braking zones, flowing corners, high speeds. Not high speeds in terms of top speed, but in terms of cornering speed. Which car's best for that?
Look, traditionally, I would have said the BMW, probably the better all-round car. A little bit longer wheelbase, probably helps it a bit more through some of the twisty corners and keeps that platform a little bit more stable. I think what we're seeing with the Porsche, though, pretty good initial turn-in, does suffer a little bit of mid-corner understeer, which is probably going to hurt it just a touch later on. But for the guys that are able to get it and run a little bit additional mid-corner throttle, it'll certainly get around well. But I think overall, probably the best car out there at the moment, it's got to be either the Ford or the Ferrari as far as balance and what we can see out of it. Having said that, we did see Ferraris go off a little bit of a driver error, but I still think they're probably the two best balanced cars at the moment in this server.
So still waiting on everybody inside your top 9 on the left-hand side of the screen to make a pit stop as we switch over to the Mach 1 Esports driver of Pat Gallo. Here are the drivers heading through the Wellington Straight. Oh, and up the inside goes one driver behind. Was that Chad Hearn? Yeah, excuse me. That's Chad Hearn in the Ferrari having a look at Daryl Carter in the Ford. Doesn't pull off the move, though, does he? You know, the Wellington Straight, Daniel, makes Brooklands a better corner, I think, than when we ran the bridge layout here. Because I feel like we lose bridge, which is a fun corner, but we gain a better corner in Brooklands.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm a little bit of the old.
You like the old one?
The old layout a little bit more. Yeah, it was a weird one. I love throwing the car in under bridge and seeing what you could get out of it. But yeah, I think for what it's done, it certainly increased the racing. As you see a few more guys coming in for their respective stops, and certainly having that change in course not only makes you think about how you can get these cars around the corner, but certainly opens up a few more passing opportunities, which we potentially didn't really have.
Talking about braking techniques, as we see a lot of drivers in the pit lane behind, that's Pellet, Sanders, Faulkner, and this nice battle on screen with Chad Hearn. But Johan Harth told me, Daniel, that he actually left foot brakes in his road car, which I found fascinating.
I can't say I've never tried it, and not very good at it. Getting the field transition from the sim pedals to real life, not the best. But if you're able to do it, why not use the circuit like your own little bit of a racetrack? We don't condone that on the street, mind you, but certainly something you could certainly try out if you've got a little bit of a spare time or a track day to go.
Yeah, I think I always learned to right foot brake in a road car. Obviously in the sim, different. I always learned to left foot brake in a sim. I think the first time I left foot broke in a road car, as we watch, this is Chris Pellet in a battle here with Martin Crisp in the BMW. Crisp just threw it up the inside, and they're still going to be alongside each other here. Crisp will have to form up, though, on the run down to Cops, I think. I don't know, but I tell you what, Crisp was hungry for a move there.
Yeah, and what's rule number 1? You don't take out a teammate. So these guys are just going to have to be careful here. Looks like Crisp's still trying to go around the outside and just not quite got the turn in that BMW. But yeah, these two are going to want to be very, very careful not to take each other.
How about Matt Morris in third across the line, gaining 4/10 on Justin Wallace. Wallace third in the championship coming into this round. And the Porsche driver for Race on Oz will have to defend from the other Porsche, the VMMR car of Matt Morris. Now, through that left-hander, see how Matt Morris missed the apex slightly, Daniel? This track was laser scanned after the resurfacing of that corner, but before this track was laser scanned, there used to be a bump there on the inside of the loop, so actually missing the apex was the quickest line, at least in a Formula One car, when you watch all the pole position laps over the years. Yeah,
I think knowing how to get around this circuit, certainly very technical, especially with where you sit in these cars and the A-pillar on the front, makes it very, very hard to get your eye in and get that turn in. So would expect a few drivers to potentially miss it, but certainly hasn't really hindered Matt Morris in outright pace. He has dropped just a couple of tenths, but overall hasn't lost a huge amount of track position over Justin Wallace there.
So going back to the road car thing, I think the first time I ever left foot broke in a road car, Daniel, I may have contracted whiplash or something to my neck, mate. It was horrible. Yeah, I'm glad no one was around at the at the intersection to see.
Well, yeah, look, it's I know the couple of times I've tried it, certainly very hard to see Matt Morris getting ahead there. Justin Wallace, that was a very easy one for Wallace, just let him open the door, so slow down for him there. Danny Davison also in the pit, but I think the biggest thing you have is working out where that feel is on the brake pedal. Normally you've got that little bit of slack in it, and you're not used to it with the left foot because you're heavy clutch, and you're not used to that feel that you need to get the most out of it.
So a multitude of drivers in the pit lane. Matt Morris will lead. And both him and Jason, well, I was about to say both he and Jason Dullahan were the last drivers to pit, but Dullahan enters along with Jeremy Clark, Dave Clements, Justin Wallace, and Danny Davison. So those 5 into the box. box. So we'll service the cars, and where will they feed out in relation to Van Gisbergen? I think Shane's got this race not under control, but he's got the lead for the moment. I don't know if he'll be pipped by these 5.
No, I think Shane will get back ahead of both of these drivers. Davison comes out pretty close behind, a couple of seconds behind there. So that's about status quo from what we saw before. Kirkham, though, has lost a couple of positions. Finds himself down in 5th. Justin Wallace actually gaining a position there. So no, maybe not the best stop there for Kirkham. I think he was pretty well on pace for what we'd expect to see, but just a little bit slower outright pace there. Steve Lattimore coming under all sorts of fire now too from Adam Gardner in the Mark 1 Esports BMW.
Yeah, certainly is. See where Lattimore, our championship leader and potential champion here today, how he'll fare at the end of this race. Van Gisbergen has a comfortable advantage in the lead. It looks like he'll take victory if he can keep it together for sure with 15 minutes to go. But Lattimore here, anything could go wrong for it, can't he?
Yeah, he's really in the box seat at the moment. Having an additional driver between himself and Craig Edwards in the form of Adam Gardner there is only going to help his point standing. And when we looked coming into the race for these two, it was only 7 points after the conclusion of last week. And as I say, anything can come wrong. We see Matt Morris, one of our final races, to drop in the lane. And yeah, all it takes is for Lattimore potentially to have a spin, and we certainly don't wish that on him, but could almost see this one go by the wayside. But Lattimore got a pretty clear head on him. I don't see it gonna be a chance tonight.
So Morris in the box, like you said, and headlights flashing behind by the rest of the drivers. This is Van Gisbergen who's going to reclaim the lead. So how do we picture this race to the end right now? Lattimore, I think, has got the championship under wraps if he can keep it together. Edwards is fine in 8th for 2nd position, but Van Gisbergen, it looks like he's got the race under wraps. So is this a difficult job for us to call right now?
No, look, I think we've sort of seen this last time out at Montreal. Van Gisbergen got up front once he was able to kind of get into the head of there at Darren Lobb and have that unforced error at Montreal. He was able to walk away from the race. Danny Davison, though, being probably the best mover throughout the course of the season, and as far as gaining speed and positions overall. And right now, he's only 2 seconds off the back of Van Gisbergen, which is a pretty solid effort, really. 30 minutes into this race to be that far behind, and anything could come on. He's had that little bit of an issue right on the first couple of laps, and got his head back down and back into the rhythm, and he's coming back up ahead. So look for him to maybe even close this gap down towards the back end.
Look at all the Porsches there in your top 5 positions. Very popular car is a Porsche. Scott Gamble. Haven't seen much of Scott Gamble this race. Let's watch him now on the Wellington Straight. God, this is a good scrap here. These are the bottom end of your teens in terms of positions. As Jason Dullahan with some issues there. What's happened to Jason Dullahan?
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of contact there with Darren Lobb in the Ferrari there, and that actually bottlenecked everyone up behind. So we'll see what happens. The 2 Pulse Racing cars still going side by side. A couple of Porsches there, and yeah, all these guys really vying for position.
Well, a couple of off tracks for sure through Cops. If anyone's driven this circuit, you can get away with it possibly, but if you're out that far, it's not really the best. I love that shot through Maggots and Beckett's as the cars scream into the corner at 250 kilometers an hour. And like I said, Daniel, the key to Maggots and Beckett's as we watch, well, I'll talk about that later. We'll get a good onboard shot because we've got some good battles here between Chris Pellet, Jason Dullahan, Kenneth Latta, Lee Vandenberg here. 4-horse race. Is that 3 wide heading into Stowe? Don't tell me. The 386 and the 769 of Pellet and Latta make contact. Latta off the racetrack, and that promotes Vandenberg into 19th.
There's a solid little scrap here between all these drivers, and everyone just giving enough room. As you see Vandenberg trying to shove the nose of that Mark 1 Esports car up the inside of the Pulse Racing Porsche there, not quite able to get it done, but these guys are very, very evenly matched.
Yeah, certainly are. Look how close these 5 are. How about that? Benjamin Faulkner wants a piece of the battle. Scott Gamble's driving away from these drivers in the Ford up ahead. And through the loop they go. Oh, defending the inside aggressively is the Porsche of Jason Dullahan. Was there contact? I think there was.
Yeah, I think there's a small bit of contact there. Vandenberg not going to be happy with that move. He actually loses a spot to Ben Faulkner. So that little exchange really hurt him there, and very, very defensive.
Oh, goodness. Bump and run. NASCAR brought to England and Australia, technically.
Yeah, it was a very, very hard defence. Maybe a little bit over the line there, but we'll see how that unfolds. But certainly Vandenberg going to have a fire in front of him now to try and get back up, and would not want to have an angry Vandenberg behind you. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we've still got the Ford of Ben Faulkner up in front, running a little wide there, and we'll keep an eye and see how he goes. Jeremy Clark. He's having a pretty solid run up, 4 spots from where he started tonight, and he's got Richard Hunter for DPR Racing starting to close in on the back of him now as they run down into turn 15, down into Stowe. And once you get into here, it's not a kind of... You've got one final run up into Vale, and you might see a little bit of a late lunge here, but both these cars looking pretty even at the moment.
Yeah, certainly are. Van Gisbergen's lead, look at that, Daniel. It's dwindled down, hasn't it? Half a second now to Danny Davison. So we ride on board with SVG himself. You know what? I worked with Shane covered one of the Supercars E-Series rounds. He was quite entertaining, let me tell you that much. He was quite fun to work with. Even behind the scenes, he was quite laid back about the whole experience. We should get him into the commentary booth on Apex Racing TV.
Yeah, certainly. Love to get him in. Seems like he's been pretty much a bit of a character of the V8 circus, and knows a thing or two about getting the most out of not only the V8 but also the GT cars. So certainly a guy that would be very, very interesting to have a chat to and find his impressions on how this is all going. But really surprised to see just how much Davison's able to close up that gap only a couple of laps ago, out to 2 seconds, and the Porsche really starting to come on strong with just under 10 minutes left in this race.
Do you have a bleep button, Scott, as well? Just in case, you never know. Oh, Daniel, now we can't swear either. SVG with a comfortable advantage of half a second, like we said. Just starting to drift away here from Danny Davison once we started to ride on board with him. Now, you saw the line through Maggots and Beckett's, Daniel. What I was going to discuss before was, in these cars, you throw it into the right-hander of Maggots in any tin top or any heavier car, like a V8 supercar, for example. But when you drive an open wheeler, I find that the best line is to open up Beckett's, the right-hander, and not throw it into Maggots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've always found I'm probably, I don't know, maybe not the most skilled out there in these cars, but I've always come in pretty hot on the initial run in. I just find banging it back gears and a little bit of brake seems to get it through. Probably not the cleanest technique in the world to do so, but certainly these guys know what they're doing. But yeah, there's certainly so many lines and opportunities and ways around this circuit that you can make.
Could you please help me identify who 369 is? Because I don't see a 369 on my timing screen. Or is that a typo?
I don't see a 369. The only
maybe
one
368.
Yeah, potential of 368, which would be Chris Hallett there. We'll have to seek clarification on the race officials there to see who that is. But right here, right now, Craig Edwards right up on the back here of Stephen Lattimore, and our two elite championship protagonists really going for it. And they've now dispensed of, who was that before? One of the Mach 1 Esports cars of Adam Gardner, and these two are absolutely going for it.
Lattimore versus Edwards for the championship for sure. Now, even if Edwards makes this move, it won't seal him the championship, but it's good to see these two racing in the closing stages of what a brilliant season it's been in the lone GTE compared to the two-class series we had for the previous seasons, of course.
Yeah, both having everyone switch from GTE, GT3, all into absolutely fantastic. And these 4 championships that we've seen throughout the course of this season been absolutely great to watch. And these two...
Oh, safety car? Wait, sorry to cut you off. There's a safety car at the end of this race, Daniel. Is there? Can you confirm that?
No, looks like it's a missed key, so we're going to ignore that one. Just heard over the race there. But yeah, that allowed Edwards just to get or actually dropped a little bit behind Steve Lattimore there. So a little bit confusion going on there, but it looks like it'll be green through to the end of this race.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, Daniel. I was so shocked. Couldn't believe it. We're going to end the season under safety car, and a Bernd Mailander was driving it. I mean, there's a lot of races that Bernd Mailander's won in Formula One, technically. But Scott Newton's telling us behind the scenes that if Edwards can make this move... Scott Newton, can we confirm this? If Edwards makes the move here on Lattimore, that the championship will be tied ahead? Yeah, so confirmation that is correct. So this is critical for the title here between Lattimore and Edwards.
Yeah, and Lattimore is going to make that forward the widest forward you've ever seen for this remaining 5 minutes. But these two will be pretty clean, and they'll race hard and only give as much room as necessary to make it work. But right now, Lattimore holding just that little bit of an advantage up front. The gap only 0.3 of a second, so absolutely nothing between these two as we watch them cross over the line on the run up through turn 9, and both Fords seem to be getting in pretty well, not working too hard on the tyres, and Edwards trying to get in the mine, going that little bit wider on the run in through Maggots Beckett's.
We don't script this, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that much, as Lattimore here is fighting for his championship. Got to confirm the tie break, of course. We'll get word on that surely for sure. But Edwards here will need to make this move to at least tie with Lattimore for that championship with less than 5 minutes to go in Season 9.
Yeah, it's coming right down to the wire here. It's absolutely what we want to see for these seasons. The championships, the guys going at it hammer and tong. And the gap ebbing and flowing a couple of tenths of a second here and there. And there's not much between either of these guys as far as lines are concerned. We'll have a look as they cross the line now just to get a gauge on the laps as they go. Both last time by in the 155s, and only 3 thousandths of a second between either of them.
Man, this is close. I'm getting nervous here watching this. Race leads not under wraps. Championship not under wraps overall for these drivers. As what a brilliant run does Edwards get through the left-hander of Aintree. Now onto the Wellington Straight. This could be a move for the title.
Yeah, Edwards not able to get the inside run. Lattimore very, very defensive, but trying to park that Ferrari on the Ford, on the outside. And that does compromise him a little bit, having to go that wider line and not able to get it back, and drops back in again behind Lattimore. So these guys really trying to get in each other's.
Oh, man, Edwards lost a lot of ground there. Was just too clumsy through Brooklands, I think. Could have stuck it around the outside a little bit more. But he'll have another shot at it here in these closing stages. How many laps do you think we'll get here? 2 laps to go, Daniel, I think.
Yeah, I think we're only 2 to go as we jump quickly up to see the battle up front. Danny Davison closing ever closer to Shane Van Gisbergen. We've still got a battle back a screen there for 3rd and 4th with Wallace and Morris. So quite a few good little battles starting to heat up on the run, and you see just in the back of frame as well, Lattimore and Edwards still going at it as well. So 3 really solid fights with the guys up in the top 8, and again Dave Clement likewise with Adam Gardner here as well between the teammates.
Now we're not sure as to whether or not penalty points will be taken into account in the championship yet, so there's a lot to calculate. It will be very unofficial, but whoever finishes ahead, we're assuming for the moment, will win this championship, but we'll call it unofficial for the moment in these remaining stages of the race as we watch Dave Clements. Remember, Clements is also gunning for a championship in his respective class. Well,
yeah, definitely, and he's not going to want to do anything that's going to upset that one. He just needs to gain the points, but potentially we could see Adam Gardner maybe just drift a little wide. These two being teammates, not going to want to scrap, and no doubt there will be some team orders going on there just to ensure they get maximum amount of points for this championship. But Clement does get that Ferrari up the inside of the BMW van. Adam Gardner, sorry, very dubious there, just to drop back and allow him to get through.
I'd like to know where Van Gisbergen is as we watch him now on screen. Van Gisbergen's heading to Copse. Has a comfortable advantage, I'd say, over Danny Davidson. I think we're going to get another lap in for sure. These two are pushing like mad right now through the Maggots Beckett section coming up. Let's have a watch. They just throw it in and the car sticks.
Yeah, setup absolutely critical here. Must give a massive shout out to the guys behind the scenes who do all the work on getting these fixed setups just as good as they are. But Davison actually looked to lost a little bit of time mid-corner on the run through 12 there. The car didn't quite set, and that gap now opened up 1.2 seconds. So that was a little bit of a costly error on the exit of Maggot.
So we'll begin the final lap of our championship for Season 9 this time round. Who will win the final race? This is for the championship right now between Lattimore and Edward. Look at this around Stowe. Edwards is going to have a mammoth run heading into Club and Vale. He's going to have to remain behind for the moment. And again, another mammoth run coming out of the final corner. Edwards is sniffing this championship by only a couple of meters. He just can't find a way past the four.
No, he's working very hard. 17 more chances to go around this circuit, so keep an eye and count him down as he gets around there. Turn 1, not going to be successful. The run up into 2 and 3, he's potentially got to move. He's moving that the Ford around a lot, trying to get into the mine there at Lattimore. I don't know where he's going to be able to do it, but Lattimore going very, very defensive down out of 4 through the arena, and that's opened up a little bit of a gap between him.
Too wide was Edwards through there. I've tried that. Doesn't work, Craig. Can't take too wide of an entry because of the nature of that corner, the camber and everything else. He's going to compromise his run heading into Brooklands here. Now, where are the spots here, Scott? Not Scott, sorry. Daniel, excuse me. It's intercops is possible here for Edwards. I think he's got a better run heading into Stowe.
Yeah, I think Stowe and Club Vale probably going to be the way to go. I see both drivers getting a little wide there. Edwards could actually get a run here. We saw Lattimore with a big wiggle, and that actually promotes Edwards
He's
now
ahead.
up into the up.
This is critical right now for the championship. What's happened to Stephen Lattimore? This championship tied for the moment unofficially. Van Gisbergen is heading towards the final few corners to win this race. But right now, Craig Edwards has snatched at least the championship tie, or the championship lead. He's tied for Lattimore for the moment unofficially. Here is SVG heading to the final few corners at Silverstone. And unless he makes a comical error through here, which he doesn't, he will win the final race for Season 9 from Silverstone. And a dominant event it's been for our former Supercars champion. And he's been a brilliant addition to the series for sure. This is for the championship heading to the final corner. It's not Glock, it's Edwards and Lattimore. Edwards remains ahead for the moment, and we can confirm unofficially that it is tied for the championship, and we're going to have to go back to countback to figure out who is champion. Is it Craig Edwards or Justin Wallace? Oh, Stephen Lattimore, excuse me.
Yeah, that was a cracking finish there. It'd be interesting to see after all our races come across the line, maybe a little bit of a replay there to what potentially cost Lattimore the run. See these guys 3 wide down at a club, still fighting hard to finish it off. The Pulse Racing car there, Chris Pallett, going to get up the inside, bringing Daryl Carter along for the run as well. And Carter gets the positions. We see Pallett spinning right at the exit.
Oh no, he's on his roof. I don't even think does he cross the line? That's the difficult part. I think he has. I think he'll be all right. Like in the virtual universe, you can get away with that one without a damage bill. But at the end of the day, how do we call this, Daniel? Shane Van Gisbergen wins. But who's going to be our champion? I haven't figured it out yet.
Oh, mate, it's absolutely great run watching that. Love to get the viewers' feedback. I know we've had a lot of guys watching on the stream as well. Just get their thoughts on how this is going to unfold once it does go to countback. And no doubt, that's questions we're going to have to put to the race officials at the end of this.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, let's have a look at our final race results for the final race of the season. So someone still, there's the final driver. I can't see who that is, actually. Is it David Miller? No, it's not David Miller, but somebody's still yet to cross the line, Daniel. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait for them to cross the line any moment now. It's Aaron Specchio. One little piggy comes home. There's Aaron Specchio right now, all the way down in 28th. Then we can call the final standings. But brilliant race from SVG, like we said, Daniel. And we'll look at the race results in a moment's time. Danny Davison and Wallace round out the podium. It's not a championship for Wallace, but a good way to end the season.
Yeah, I think it's a great result for both our top three there. See Danny Davison come strong towards the back end of that race, and likewise our third position for Justin Wallace, a great run for him.
So let's switch over to the final race results. SVG will win. And a brilliant win for the OSR driver, ahead of Danny Davison and Wallace, like we said. Morris ended up in fourth at the end of the day. Surprised Morris wasn't able to etch himself up onto the podium, but a good result nevertheless. Now about Edwards and Lattimore. 0.4 of a second could decide a championship there, as Edwards took advantage of an ailing Lattimore in the final stages of that race. Just wasn't on his game, Stephen Lattimore. For some reason, seemed to struggle in those closing laps under the pressure from Craig Edwards behind. Now ahead at the finish line. Clements will win the championship, of course, in his respective class. And where did Lee Vandenberg finish at the end of the day? We'll confirm whether or not Lee Vandenberg has the championship ahead of Jeremy Clark, because Clark has claimed a good position. He rounds out the top 10. We know Martin Crisp has won his respective championship for the amateurs. But you know what? This is a lot of confusion here in this final round, Daniel, to all figure out right now. It'd be nice to speak to someone post-race to figure it all out. But here are the rest of the results on screen. Gallo, Gamble, 21st, 20th, respectively. There's Lee Vandenberg in 19th. Finally spotted him. And Aaron Spetcher, like we said, was the last car to finish this race in 28th. At least the last car on the lead lap. And then we cycle through the rest of the order. Goes all the way down to Jesse Butler, of course. Neil Pearson, actually, in the opening laps, wasn't able to finish this race. And the rest of those were race control behind. 31-car field today for Ferraris. Had a spin in the opening laps, then had some technical issues, actually, later in the race. So even if he didn't have that spin, Daniel, it looked like Dominic Ferraris, the technical gremlins, would have caught him out, nevertheless.
Yeah, definitely. I think unfortunate there, but yeah, a little shame to see maybe not the race that he would have liked at the back end, but I think he will get back underway. I do think we can also call our AM GTE Championship. Lee Vandenberg should take the win there. He came into this one with 168 points, so short of not finishing this one, I think this one will be done and dusted as well for the AM Championship.
Yeah, and excuse me, I did call Martin Crisp winner of the amateurs. I did mean the rookies, so Martin Crisp definitely champion for that, we can confirm at the same time. It's time, though, to speak to your champion. No, not your champion. It's time to speak to Justin Wallace. And here is Mr. Justin Wallace, who came home in the third position. Justin, after starting outside the top 10, it is a result to remember. We're all still trying to figure out the championship, though, behind you. I'm not sure if you kept track of that.
Yeah, I'm stoked with the podium there. It was good, but the championship, yeah, that's I don't know how it finished. It'll be close between Steve and Craig.
Yeah, I think it's tied for the moment, nevertheless. But you'd want your man Stephen Lattimore to win this title for sure. Do you think he's got it?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Maybe a point in it or so.
I'm not. It'll come down to coincidence. But let's talk about your race. Like you said, started outside the top 10. Now, how did you make up most of those positions? Was that in the early laps due to all the incidents?
Yeah, that first couple of corners, there was a few little incidents, and I got a good start. I was clean, so made a couple of spots there, and then throughout the race, there was a couple of people. I think Dom spun out in front of me, so I got a freebie there, and then I just tried to keep it clean. Drove as hard as I could to the first half, just to try and keep up with the lead pack, and yeah, after the pit stops, up in third. I'll keep that.
We've discussed whether or not the Porsche was the quickest car. Daniel Lead also said that the BMW fared very well around here at Silverstone. Where was the Porsche strong in relation to your competitors? We know Van Gisbergen drove the Ford. Do you think the car, I mean, he's a talented driver in himself, but do you think the Ford had a disadvantage or an advantage compared to you guys?
Oh, well, the Ford was obviously quick. It was up there. Following a Beamer earlier in the race, it just seemed to trail into some of the corners really well. But the Porsche was good. It was really quick through all the high speed stuff. But I pushed it really hard. That's last kind of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I was skating around. I think I burned up the tires.
And finally, who gets it done for you, of course, in that race on Oz Machine, and also best moment of the championship for you for season 9?
Yeah, best moment. Oh, I got a win at Phillip Island, so that was really good. So I'll take the win there. But yeah, thanks to the Harvey Bay Auto Glass and the Race on Oz guys for a good season. Hopefully Steve's got the championship. Yeah, and thanks to you guys at Apex and Ryan for putting on the show.
Most certainly. We're going to drag Ryan Kolstad in. Thanks, Justin Wallace. You came home third in the championship and third today, so a good way to wrap up the season. Let's bring in Ryan Kolstad. We got you?
Hey, how we going, guys?
We have to figure out a champion now because, as Daniel Leet has told me behind the scenes here, it's going to go back to count back if they are tied on points. So this will be the time to confirm it.
I'm going to have a look back, but I'm 90% sure. I haven't updated the points, but I'm 90% sure they've finished on equal points. So it's going to go back to wins. And I'm going to have to count them and see who's had the most wins.
All right. So how about this, Daniel Leet? You'll be stood alongside Danny Davison, and Ryan Kolstad and myself will figure this out behind the scenes. Well, actually, just Ryan Kolstad. Sorry, Ryan. I'm not going to take credit for work I'm not going to do. So Ryan Kolstad will figure it out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, g'day, Danny Davison. Welcome to the commentary box, mate. Look, maybe not the best start coming off pole, unfortunately dropping down a couple of positions, but mate, did you come on strong at the back end of this race? Only a few tenths of a second between yourself and SVG at the back end, and looking to see you in the Porsche came along really, really well for you. How was it out there?
Well, to be honest, I'm quite disappointed. I thought I had the quickest car by far tonight, and I actually should have won. So I'm not very happy with the result, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's go back to the start with off the jump. Looked like you got a good run when the lights went green, and unfortunately Shane was able to get the run up through 2 and into 3. Was there something that went wrong with the car on the jump there, or how did that go unfold for yourself?
I don't know. I think I'm generally quite a poor starter, and the dynamic weather was I didn't get to do many laps, and I just was a bit cautious, and then I made a mistake, and then everybody starts swamping you in the first laps, and it just took me ages to get into a groove during the race, and I think that's where I lost the race basically. Shane just drove really consistent, as you'd expect, and I mean he deserves to win. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened. But I thought, the Porsche was definitely the quickest car here tonight.
Yeah, well, we certainly saw a lot of Porsches up towards that top 5, and watching after the pit stops unfolded, we noticed the gap between yourself and SVG jumping out to about 2 seconds, and you seem to be able to close that gap down pretty consistently, and as you say, down towards the back end, it's a couple of tenths of a second between it. There's not much in it at all. And for yourself, where were you finding the main strong points between the Porsche versus, say, the Ford around the circuit?
It was definitely making up time in breaking into the last hairpin near the end of the lap. I was quicker there, and also I guess I think the lower speed stuff like the braking into corner entry. I noticed. I mean, the Porsche was twitchy high speed, but if you could control it, it was fast. But I think the braking is a strength of the Porsche. I mean, I usually drive the BMW, and I just thought I'd change it up, and for the last round, that's where I noticed its strengths basically. Yeah.
Well, that's also the next question we're going to ask, is we do know we've seen you in the BMW throughout the course of the season, and the switch up to the Porsche tonight, was that pre-planned or potential getting your head around it for next season?
Well, I always sort of liked the Porsche, and I was just curious. I wanted to give it a go, and I was a lot quicker in the Porsche around here. I tested them back to back with the BMW, so I thought I'm just going to go for it on the last race and try to go for the victory. So that's why I'm pretty disappointed with the result. But it was fun anyway. I mean, awesome racing, very competitive field, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, look, unfortunately, still congratulations on the second. I know probably not, as you say, exactly where you wanted to be at the end of this one, but before we let you go and think about potentially what could have been, is there anyone you wanted to give a shout out and a thanks to throughout the course of the season and helping out tonight?
Yeah, just like a shout out to my team that I race for, EXG Motorsports. I usually race for them. recently just joined them, and a shout out to you guys for doing a great job with the commentary. I mean, you make the races a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, it's awesome stuff. Looking forward to next season.
Fantastic, mate, and certainly looking forward to catching you back in the box. One of the biggest movers towards the back end of this champion. So, heads up, mate, and certainly look forward to catching you out there next.
No worries, guys. See you next season. Cheers.
So now that Danny Davison has concluded his Season 9 championship, Ryan Kolstad, have we got everything wrapped up behind the scenes?
Not 100% wrapped up, but unofficially, if we're going back on countback and the scores are even, and Craig Edwards will be the winner unofficially because he's taken out 3 round wins, whereas Lattimore has only taken out 2 round wins.
So shocking news there, Daniel. We're about to speak to Stephen Lattimore in a moment's time. It's unofficial, like we said, so we won't confirm it for the moment, but that is heartbreaking for Stephen Lattimore.
Yeah, look, I think between both of them, that's probably 50-50 on how that would unfold. But for both drivers, I know that we've seen throughout the season, put on some fantastic racing. And that being said, we've got Steve Lattimore jumped up in the box, so we'll have a chat to him. And I might open this one up to yourself, Johnny.
Well, Steve, unfortunately, if that is the case, you've turned out to be the Felipe Massa of this championship, unfortunately. And you know what? At the end of the day, you've had a good season nevertheless, and something to be proud of for sure, whether you win a championship or not.
Oh, yeah, it was good. Great battle with Craig across the season. That last race, 5-second penalty for turning me and losing me so many positions is a little questionable. But besides that, yeah, good racing with Craig all season long.
I think they may have potentially, now that obviously you saw it as well, the explanation from the race stewards was 5-second penalty because he did readdress the position. Did you feel he readdressed it enough?
No, he was really being blocked because he turned me. And losing so many positions is, yeah, it's always been more. It's inconsistent with what the rules have usually been. I understand if I lose no positions, then 5 seconds is granted, which has been the case in many cases over the course of the season. But yeah, to lose that many positions, yeah, it's a little harsh.
And not trying to get you in trouble here, of course, so just be careful when I ask this, but do you feel like that the championship is being considered in the race stewards' decision there?
I couldn't make that prediction. It kind of does, but yeah, I can't. I'm not in the mind of the race stewards.
But at the end of the day, you did receive a good result for yourself anyway. So I tell you what, like I said, good championship to be proud of nevertheless. And I've been in your position before, mate. I've won championships in the final race. I've lost championships. And for yourself, you know what? If this one slips, you'll be back ready to go for season 10, I think.
We'll see. It's a short season, Christmas break. I like to have a break myself. So we might see. Some of the stewarding this season has been very questionable. So I'm getting a little tired and probably looking for a new challenge, but we'll see.
And what happened, by the way, with that slide coming out of Luffield? Because that seemed to gift Edwards the critical position for the championship. It was difficult to see on the broadcast, but I just assume a bit of loss of traction under power.
Yeah, just got onto the gas a bit too much. Too much steering input. Lost the rear end and need to regabber. And yeah, gave the position to Craig, which was disappointing because I reckon I could have held him off into the last section. Then yeah, it was just sit back and try to make the move on him, but yeah, I couldn't.
What were the closing laps like? Fun or agony?
A little bit of both. It's always fun to have a good close battle, especially with a driver like Craig Edwards. The Ford was absolutely terrible around Silverstone. For anyone who's gone all season, the Ford has been improved. No, it's still one of the most slowest cars out there. It's just you have to wring the neck out of it to get some good times. And if I am back, I definitely won't be back in that Ford.
So finally, who gets it done for you? A lot of people to thank. We just spoke to your teammate Justin Wallace earlier, of course, as well for the Race on Oz machine. But both he and yourself have had a good championship, and an entire crew behind the scenes, of course, helping you make season 9 what it's been so far, championship or not.
Yeah, well, yeah, Justin's done quite well. Ken, Ben, there's quite a few drivers from Race on Oz who have taken part this season and performed really well. Yeah, I'd like to thank Harvey Bay Auto Glass, the boys over at Race on Oz at the forum, all the sponsors over there, AMF for putting the season on, and Apex Racing TV for broadcasting it.
So there you go, Stephen Lattimore. We'll see you hopefully next season. But if we don't, have a good Merry Christmas break or Happy Holidays, depending on whatever holiday you celebrate, of course. And we'll leave you to it, mate. But Hanukkah, you celebrate Hanukkah? Are you joking around here?
I'm joking.
No, he's joking.
Daniel, so that's Stephen Lattimore.
Cheers,
we'll leave
fellas.
him to it for next season. See you, mate. I forgot what I was going to ask you now, Daniel, because Lattimore's made me laugh. So I don't know where to go now. What comedy of errors now?
Well, no, that's all right. I think while we wait for the unofficial results, no doubt Ryan's got a lot on the plate. Next season, obviously some big things in the works for AMF. Obviously, we saw some great achievements throughout the season. Obviously, changing some of the stead from last season with GT3 GTE to a straight GTE fight all across the board. Ryan, did you want to give the guys a bit of a preview on some of the upcoming stuff moving ahead for season 10 at all?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we'd like to welcome on Abruzzi Racewear Australia as our main title sponsor for the AMF GT series heading forward. They've jumped on board with us, so that's going to be fantastic to have them on board with us. They've put through a prize pack for next season. We're going to bring back our Best and Fairest Stewards Award. So our stewards in each split will award a 3-2-1 after every race to the drivers, and the driver with the most points at the end of the season will win a full Abruzzi prize pack, which is a pair of gloves, a pair of boots, and a T-shirt fully customised to their team and or race number, however they want it designed. So for Abruzzi to put that on for us was fantastic. We're going to be running a shortened season next season, so 9 races instead of 12. For the first 3 rounds that we'll be missing, we're going to put on a time trial event, and the winners of those time trial events will win some AMF prize pack merch, which will be pretty nice for them. That's about it, really. So yeah, season 10's looking forward. Obviously, we're staying with you guys for season 10, so we're really looking forward for the broadcast for that. In regards to the championship, I've actually had a look at tonight's results, and Stephen Lattimore has actually gone past the incident penalty count. So he will lose 5 points from his total. So Craig Edwards is the official winner of the season.
Brilliant news for Craig Edwards then. Congratulations to him on being the Season 9 champion. Now, how many championships has Craig Edwards won in the past, Ryan? I'm not sure if you have the list on you.
I don't have the list on me, but I believe this is either his 4th. I think it's his 4th championship.
Wow. And
so he's been very consistent in our series.
He's driven both GTEs and GT3s in the past too, I think.
Yes.
Or am I getting that wrong? Yeah,
he's won in both classes, yes.
Wow, so good on Craig Edwards for that. And there's a lot of people to thank as well, Ryan. Starts from you guys at Race Control. Let's not forget you. So, of course, sponsored by Harvey Bay Auto Glass this season. And anybody else I'm leaving out?
I'd love to thank RMS. RMS is up-and-coming software that's going to help everybody just do everything so much easier with iRacing. Dave Clements in the background helping me out with his RMS software. Loading the grids as fast as we do. We do tournament-style pre-qualifying. So we have pre-qualifying in the midweek for drivers that can't make qualifying on a Sunday night. So they're more than welcome to set laps then. He logs all of that information in and sets the grids for us. The software moving forward is going to be able to do some really cool and interesting things. He probably hasn't spoken too much about it, but something very simple like semi-fixed setups, whereas we'll be able to see your setup in your computer while you're running, and we can tell if you're running our setup with a few minor tweaks that are allowed or not allowed. So little things like that are definitely going to make life very easy for us. But the live ECU that he's going to run for me to be able to control everything and view everything, I'll be able to pick how many tyres you've had in your pit stop, everything. So yeah, really looking forward to RMS moving forward over the next 6 to 12 months.
And that's
Really like to thank all of my race stewards. I've had about 10 different race stewards in with me this season. A lot of those guys give up their time for free to help me out. So very much appreciated to them. My main guys, Justin and Kester, they turn up every week and help me. But yeah, to all the other guys that help me week in, week out, I can't thank those guys enough. It's very, very hard. It's a thankless job doing race control, as you would have heard Stephen's comments earlier on, which he's entitled to. It's a very thankless job doing live race control. Other than that, Harvey Bay Auto Glass for coming on and helping pay for some of the live race control. And just the drivers themselves turning up each week and making the series what it is.
We should also mention that you can also visit rms55.com.au for more information on the RMS service.
Yes.
Yeah, so all still available there. And Daniel, anything left to ask Ryan Kolstad before we leave everybody to it for the season?
No, I think he's covered everything. I think probably the one he did miss off, Kester back in the safety car, doing a great job. We saw him actually head on board for a couple of laps. I think it was actually at Coda as well. So safety car award goes to Kester for that.
I thought Kester Mack was going to win the race today. What happened there, Ryan, with the safety car?
Kester Mack, with the safety, that was a slip of the hand and I pressed the wrong button and the safety car number came up. I've since deleted those messages. I won't be using them anymore. We'll rely on voice messages for safety car from now on.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, Kester Mack was, he stepped up this week and he ran split 2 for me this week, which was very, very good of him. Running a split is a lot more pressure than what most people would think in race control. So yeah, thank you very much for Kester for doing that for me this week.
Yeah, race controls is obviously one of the toughest parts of motorsport for sure. I know, I'm a big basketball fan and the referees do cop it.
Yes,
not just for myself,
all referees
but
cop it.
Exactly, umpires, referees, you name it,
Yep.
any sport. But you guys do an awesome job behind the scenes for sure. And you know what? It's when it comes to penalties like today, of course, you're always going to have people with different minds about it. But at the end of the day, you've taken your time, made the best decision you think is best for the series.
Yep.
And you've taken that all into account. So good job behind the scenes, Ryan. But for now, though, I think it's time to wrap up for season 9 here. Daniel, any final words to wrap up the season? Might as well bring Scott Newton into this. Scott, you've covered most of the season too. Daniel, you go first. It's not sure if I'm going to name any memorable moments, but for me, it's go on for 2020 now. I'm looking forward to the new season for season 10.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I'm really looking forward to season 10. I think obviously going into week 13, we know iRacing is going to come out with some new patch updates and whatnot for the service. So it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds and what excitement that can bring to these cars as well. But no, I think throughout the course of the season, I mean, we've seen some fantastic racing at all venues we've gone to. We've had a few notable exceptions where some guys that we don't really know find their way up towards the pointy end, and a few guys that we've sort of seen throughout the championship quite a lot, and coming in, week out, may not be the fastest, but still putting on a fantastic show. And I think based on some of the stuff Ron was saying with the Best and Fairest Award, that's really going to play into some of their strengths later on in the season. But all in all, no, I think the drivers put on some fantastic racing, and big hats off to them and to Ryan and the stewarding team for all the work they've done behind the scenes as well.
And we normally don't bring our producers in to talk during broadcast, but Scott, I've hung you out to dry right now. It's been a good season for yourself too. Thanks for filling in for me when I've been absent.
No, yeah, it's always been a pleasure to fill in when required. But as Daniel mentioned, it's been an absolutely cracking season through both seasons that we've actually covered here on Apex Racing TV. With the GTE and GT3 in Season 8, and then the GTE in Season 9. Certainly looking forward to Season 10, I think, starting on the 5th of January 2020. So certainly looking forward to what iRacing hands out with balance of performance updates for the GTE. And then we'll be able to crack on for the shortened 9-week championship for Season 1 2020.
Yeah, wow, I can't believe it, 2020. I still remember when I was in primary school and I was thinking about 2020. Man, it's been ages since then. But we're getting old now, and I guess this broadcast is starting to get a little bit old now. It's time to wrap up here for the final time for Season 9. for the AMF GT Series. And what a season it's been here. Hope you've enjoyed all the action on Apex Racing TV. Visit the Apex Racing TV website for more information on upcoming broadcasts, of course, too. And if you like your series broadcasted by the entire crew here. And I'd like to thank that entire crew behind the scenes. It's not just myself, Daniel Leet, and Scott Newton behind the scenes. It's also an entire crew that help us with what make these Apex Racing TV broadcasts look as brilliant as they do. But for myself, Jonathan Simon, like I said, Daniel Leet alongside me, Scott Newton, and the entire team, we will say so long from the virtual Silverstone. Goodbye for Season 9. Happy holidays, and we'll see you back for Season 10.